Hi everyone, it's Rena. I have a tutorial for you today. It is a twist pop-up panel card. They're all the rage right now, and I've broken down the steps here so that you can make these yourself. So here's the tutorial, and please make sure if you make any of these cards to post some pictures in the VIP group. I'd love to see your work. Thanks! Okay, so we are going to be making a twist pop-up panel card, and this is exactly what the card will look like. Cool, right? There's your front, and then you open it and it pops out like a little panel. And so mine, I did make it a Halloween theme, and on the top it says wishing you a spooky Halloween with a little spider and spider web, and then I kept the theme going on the inside with the little spiders and the spider web, and then it says Happy Halloween. And the top I just added a little circle, like a little journaling spot. You can put to or from or whatever it may be. Okay, so let's get started. So the things that you'll need, the supplies that you'll need, I included them already, but I'm going to just repeat them. You'll need 3 base pieces. There's one that's 12 inches by 4 inches, one that's 10 by 3.5 inches, and then one that's 8 by 3.5 inches. Then you'll also need some designer paper for your to decorate, and so I already have all of my pieces ready to go, and I've already included I've kind of gotten my embellishments ready to go also. But let's go ahead and make the base of the card, and then you'll be able to decorate and embellish any way that you'd like to. So first things first, we're going to take this 12 by 4 inch piece, and we are going to score this at 6 inches. So you're going to line your paper up on the 12 inch side, and you're going to score this right at 6 inches. Okay. And then you're just going to fold it in half, and then you're going to make sure you burnish your lines so that you have a nice little crisp edge. Okay, so this is actually going to be your card right here. Now I want you to take your 10 by 3.5 inch sheet of paper, and we're going to go ahead and score this on the 10 inch side. You're going to score this at 2.5, 5, and 7.5. So again, we scored this at 2.5, 5, and 7.5. So now you should have 4 little squares, and you have 3 little score lines. So the way we're going to fold this is something that's called a valley and mountain fold. You're going to fold over, which creates kind of like a V. Then you're going to fold under, which kind of creates a little mountain, and then you're going to fold under again, which creates a little V. So this is what your paper is going to look like. So it's a valley fold, a mountain fold, and a valley fold. And so then you're just going to burnish these so that you can make sure your creases are nice and crisp. And this will affect your structure of your card, so make sure that you burnish everything really well. Okay, so this last one, we are going to, you're going to need a pencil or a pen. I did forget to include that, but a pencil or a pen. I have a little red pen, but you're going to take your 8 by 3.5 inch piece and line it up on the 8 inch side, and you're going to score, no, I'm sorry, you're going to line it up on the 3.5 inch side, and you're going to score at 1 3/4. So on the 3.5 inch side, you score at 1 3/4. Then you're going to rotate it to the 8 inch side, and using your pen or your pencil, you're going to make a little mark at 2 1/4 and 5 3/4. So again, you made a little mark at 2 1/4 and 5 3/4. You're going to rotate it all the way around and make the same marks again. So you're going to make your mark at 2 1/4 and 5 3/4. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to score from this little line down to this little line, this little line, down to this little line. So you're basically going to make an X. So if you're really crafty, you can make your score mark like this on a diagonal. I like to think I'm crafty, but I'm not that crafty. So what I do is I take my cutting tool, and I'm not going to use my my cutter, but I am going to use this little groove that's right here. And so I'm going to take my little paper and I'm going to line up my little marks so that they're even. And then I'm going to take my score tool, and this is how I'm going to score my diagonal line. Okay, and I'm going to do that on both sides. Now you want to get this as close as you possibly can to perfect, because again, it'll affect your structure. However, if it doesn't come out perfect and we have to trim little pieces off, that's completely fine too. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to fold down the middle and make sure you burnish your crease really good. I'm going to do it on both sides. And then you're going to, at this point, you're going to take your X's and you're going to fold. So see this X line right here? I'm going to fold up like this. And then on this X, I'm going to fold down on this one. So I'm just going to go back over that so that they're nice and burnished. Okay, and so now this is kind of the tricky part, because what you're going to do is you're going to maneuver your paper so these pieces go under and you end up with kind of a little house. Okay, so again, this is my paper right here. I'm just going to kind of maneuver it until it looks like this. Here it is. I'm going to fold that under, and my triangles are going to pop to the top. Okay, so once you have that, you're going to burnish, burnish, burnish really good and try to make this really nice and flat. And so I can see that right here my little house is not matching up, so I'm probably going to have to trim that off. But again, that's okay. That's completely fine. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to trim that right now before I go any further. I'm just going to trim that off so that it matches. The idea is to try to get it as perfectly matched up as possible. So this side has a little tiny bit that I'm going to trim off also. Okay, so there's my little house. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my little house inside my base card. And your base card is 4 inches wide. So what you're going to want to do is take your ruler and you're going to measure right at the 2-inch mark and put a tiny little dot, because you want to make sure that you center your point right in the middle of the card. So your little point's going to go right here in the middle. Okay, so you're going to take some score tape, or there's also that red sticky tape. You're really going to want to have a good adhesive, because this is your mechanism that opens and closes your panel. So you want to make sure that you have something that's really strong. And you're going to put your score tape or your red sticky tape or your tearaway tape, whatever it is that you choose to use. You're going to go ahead and stick that on both sides. Okay, so once you do that, you're going to burnish this down again because you want the tape to get a good stick. I need to cut my little tape corners off right here. I just cut tape off. I don't want you to think I cut part of the house. I just cut tape off. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick my little house, my little point right on the little dot where I made the 2-inch mark. So I'm going to take off the backing of my score tape. And I'm going to stick that. Now you don't want to do it on the crease, but you do want to do it right underneath your crease. So see, here's my little crease line, and I put it right underneath. And so once you do that, burnish that down again. And now you're going to take the backing off the top score tape, and you're just going to lay the top part down on top of the little house and then burnish it up again. Okay, so here we go. This is what it looks like at this point. You see the mechanism right there? Okay, so now we're going to add these panels. What you may want to consider doing is adding your embellishment, your designer paper, not your embellishment, your designer paper on here before you stick it on. And that's what I'm going to do, because once you stick on the panel, it's kind of hard to lay it flat. So sorry, my video actually cut off a few seconds ago. So this is what I've done so far. I went ahead and I added all my designer paper onto my panels because it's easier for me to flatten them down before I add the panels to the mechanism. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to fold your panels like this, kind of like a gatefold card, and you're going to stick this crease at the 2-inch mark on your card. And that may not have been recorded earlier. So what you need to do again is you need to measure to a 2-inch mark. So remember, across it's 4 inches. So you need to add a tiny little dot at the 2-inch mark. And this is where you're going to put that little crease right there. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to draw a little X and a line right up until the crease line. Don't go below the crease line. You're going to do the same thing on this side. Draw a line and a little X. And you can probably already see that that's where I put my score tape. So I have my little X and a line, my little X and a line, and this is where I've put my score tape. Okay? So let me add another piece of score tape there. Once you add your score tape, make sure that you burnish it really well. Burnish, burnish, burnish. Because this is going to hold your panel in place so that your mechanism works. So the next thing you do is you're going to take your little panels, and remember, you're going to meet this little crease right up to that little 2-inch dot that you just created. Okay, and so that should be perfectly aligned with your little lines. So then you're going to take off the backing of your score tape and just flatten this over and burnish that down. Do the same thing on this side over here. And flatten that side down and burnish it. Okay, so now this is what you have. So you're going to close your card, and since this is the first time the mechanism is going to work, it's going to be a tiny bit difficult to close the first time, but you're going to just fold it and then the mechanism will work. Okay, when you do that, burnish it down And now you have your working mechanism. Oops. My paper is heavier right now because I've already added that cardstock on the inside, and I don't have it on the outside. Okay, there you go. So that is the base. That is the base of your card, okay? And the mechanism works perfectly well. There you go. So now you're going to embellish it. And so once I start adding all of these top layers, then the top will be a little sturdier and it'll close so much easier, just like the other one. And so this designer piece of paper that I'm adding is 5 3/4 by 3 3/4 because the base of my card is 6 by 4. And I like to go down 1/4 of an inch. So and if you want to add this part before you add your mechanism, you can definitely do that as well. Let me see if I have to cut any little edges, and I do not. Okay, so then I'm going to add these little squares, and they're going to go up here at the top. And I already added my little embellishment, just another little journaling spot. The size of this designer paper is 3 1/4 by 2 1/4 because this little square piece right here is 3 3/4 by, no, is 3 1/2 by 2 1/2. So that's why I made this 3 1/4 by 2 1/4. You could have covered this whole base right here from here to here, which would have been the same size as this one. You could have done that on both, but I don't really think I need to do that because you're not going to see that piece and you're kind of wasting paper in my opinion. But it's completely up to you. You may not feel that way, and that may be easier for you, so whatever works best for you. So I'm going to add my little squares. And of course I like to do 1/4 inch all the way around so that I have kind of a little border. And then this one is the same. It's 3 1/4 by 2 1/4, but then I added this little white card on the top. So that is, I'm sorry, these are not 3 1/4, they're 3 3/4 by 3 1/2. No, I'm sorry. This is 4 1/4 by 4. This outside is 4 by 3 3/4, and this inside is 3 3/4 by 3 1/2. Just make sure you follow the supplies noted at the beginning of the video, because I have all of the correct measurements there. Okay, so I'm going to stick this on. And then I'm going to add my little embellishments to the front. And then my little roses. And I just put all of these embellishments together before I started. So I cut all of the papers I wanted to use, and then I picked out my embellishment. So that way, when I put the card together, I would already know what I was going to be layering where. So I'm just going to add my little flower right there. See? And then I'm gonna use my glue gun and add my little bow. Add my little bow right there, but I don't have it out yet. So, okay, so here is my card, and here's how it opens. I have not decided yet what I'm gonna put on these little sections here. I'm gonna put some stamp sentiment here. I'm not really sure what yet, but I haven't decided what I'm gonna put here. I may put some popped up flowers. That may look really cute. Now if you do use pop-ups, it does get really thick like this. So if you want it to be flat, then make sure that whatever you put on the inside here is flat. Don't include pop dots or anything like that. The other thing you could do is you could make a belly band, which would just be a regular piece of cardstock that you score on the sides and have a little closure on the back, like a piece of Velcro or something like that. Or you can tie a bow around it. That's another way for you to close it. This one is pretty bulky, which is okay. I think that whoever I send it to will be fine with that. I just really like the little spider theme there. And this one I think will be really cute also. I just have to figure out what I'm going to put on those inside panels. But that's it. That's how you make a twist pop-up panel card.